Hello and welcome to the theElpyDimension. Alright, we aren't going to use the flash right now. Today's the 21st of August 2025 and I'm your guide Elpy. And this is an 18 gallon, 18 gallon 18 gallon storage tote, which is 68.2 liters, 24 inches by 16 inches by 16 and a half inches. And this is a tote I have that I transferred all the stuff that was in it. I don't know where the lid to it is. It's probably around here somewhere, but it might not be. And I'm like, you know what, this is good for, I'm going to use this for the blue worms. It's rather deep instead of wide, but that's fine. And this is a lot of lemongrass from last year. Why, Opie, are you composting it? Well, because I pruned it, I harvested it, and I put it in a bag to dry it. And I have a terrible habit of starting things before they're ready to be finished. Like you might have witnessed with my garlic. I planted a ton of garlic. Couple hundred, well, actually there were a whole lot of garlic already in the bed that I had forgotten about last year, so there were whole bulbs. Anyways, I harvested over 200 head of garlic this year, and I started harvesting them little by little without any knowledge of how that was going to actually go and look. And so I do that. So anyways, so I harvested lemongrass last year, and I wasn't certain that there wasn't mold in the bag. And you get my anxiety and my OCD going, and that's the end of that. So I've held on to it, not comfortable consuming it. I am growing lemongrass this year, and I'm going to do my best not to let that happen. But so this is part of the bed as well as because garlic doesn't store. I have not found the key to my storing garlic, so I've actually had a lot of heads rot in the basement, and that's what is underneath this. Then we have a drink carrier, a Subway bag, and I am preparing this for the new blue worm bin. They are currently in a smaller bin, smaller but wider. I'll get the dimensions. Yeah, I wanted to make this video all in one, and so I've been putting it off, but that's not going to work out. But yeah, so I'm here in the basement. I'm about 8 to 10 feet away from where my other worm bins are, and I'm going to set up in this new space. I'll show you some other time when it's more acceptable. But this is a 5-gallon bucket. Is it 5? Is it 5? 15 kilograms, 35 pounds. Why don't you tell me? Why don't you tell me in gallons? I'd like to know in gallons. I'll look that up. I have in here shredded paper that I've already wet down. Some of it's rainwater. There's also some old blueberries down in there. And I think, yeah, it's mainly just shredded paper, just really jammed down in there. Now, what I was thinking I was going to do was when I make a brand new bin, I'll set up the bin minimum 3 days in advance. But last time, like for the blue worms, I let it sit for a week. And, oh, there's also some kale in there. Kale leaves I picked out of the garden. But what I'm going to do this time, I don't have a need for their castings from the bin that they're currently in. And when I harvest from a bin, I just add new material. You know, if this was an active worm bin right now, and I'm like, all the material's done. Okay, I'd take half of the material out and put all new material in and allow the worms to stay in the old material as long as they want, while also allowing the new material to become inoculated by the bacteria and microbes from the old material. I believe that's how it works, and I think that seems kind of common sense. I mean, I don't see how I could be wrong, right? So I feel like I should be able to prep this bin, put all the new stuff, and then just go ahead and dump that whole It's not a huge bin. I think it's like 11 by 8. I don't think it's, because if this is, what do you say? This is 24 by 16 by 16. So it's going to be 24 inches wide. That's definitely not 24. I can see it from here. By 16 inches deep by 16. Yeah, 16. So wide. Or this would be length, technically, wouldn't it? Length, width, and then depth is top to bottom. So it's 24 inches long by 16 inches wide by 16 and a half inches tall. So I'm just going to take that bin. I'm just going to take all those worms and I'm just going to transfer them in here. So I'm going to take all the wet shredded paper and dump it on top of this stuff. And then I'm trying to think how I'll figure it out then, how I'm going to add. Do I want to put the castings like I would in a harvest, that half of the bin is that worm bin, all that material, and then the other half of the bin is the new stuff? Or do I want to just dump them all on top and they can stay in their castings if they want, or they can move lower? I like that idea, but I'm also like, if I do half and half, then I could, if they move all into the new stuff, I could just harvest out the old stuff. And that might be, yeah, we'll see. But I just wanted to show you where I'm at right now and how I am very soon going to be moving this bin. Okay, so, and I've got food scraps for them. That should have been. Sorry, I got distracted because I'm like, either that's these food scraps stinking, or I have a mouse trap stinking. Need to look into that. But yeah, so this bin is 17.875 inches long. So this bin is as long as the other one is wide and deep, and it's 15 inches wide by 11 inches deep. So that bin looks way bigger. Yeah, it is, because that bin is about, if we round up to 8, that's 6 inch. The other bin's 6 inches longer, and it's only 1 inch wider, and it's 5 inches deeper. So I feel weird because I feel like I should be moving them into something way bigger. But anyways, it is ironically blue. I didn't do that on purpose. So what I've decided to do is I am going to put the worms and their castings not across the top, but half. Because whatever this new material is on the bottom, it's not, well, like I told you, it's the lemongrass and the, whatchamacallit, the garlic. So I feel like it'd be better for them to be able to have that little bit of depth if they want it, instead of spreading out all the material across the top. So it's been several days. So I wound up actually essentially inoculating the material, or, it growing a microbial and bacterial population, no doubt. So let's go ahead. We'll add this bit of potting soil from an old plant. And I think that's actually an old creeping thyme plant. I should give this to the Canadian night crawlers, but too late. Okay. Try my best not to bump Now this has been sitting for, like I said, probably a week now. So this stuff on top is, the topmost stuff was dry. And this is just barely moist. So the bin, as I was saying in the previous clip, that they're currently in is 17.875 inches. So let's just call it 18 inches by 15 by 11. This is 24 by 16 by 16 and a half deep. So it's not a whole, it's not as, oh, I said I was going to find the, the volume. I never did. By the time I post this video, that'll be on the screen. Because this one's 18 gallons. So, you see I'm adding this new material all the way across. Actually, I think I'll put this in the new food. Because that, the old stuff isn't going to take up this whole corner. But maybe I'll stop adding new stuff now to the right side. Now we'll see, because this stuff, yeah, this stuff is wetter, more wet at the bottom. It's kind of stinky at this point because it's been sitting. And there are kale leaves from the garden at the bottom of this water. There's also, there were also blueberries in here. And toilet paper rolls. Okay. I'm going to bury this food because I have a large feeding that I brought down here thinking that I would do that, feed this day, and then I didn't. So it's extra disgusting. We're also going to, this is my dry mix. It's got, is it alfalfa or kelp? I haven't mixed any new up in a while. I haven't even been using this in a while, actually. A little bit of oyster, azomite, and diatomaceous earth. I'm actually going to put this whole thing in this bin. Not all right there, but okay. Might actually want to add this feeding before I put anything else. Now, I wasn't going to give all of this to them, but I've changed my mind because they're blue worms, and I think they'll be able to deal with it. It's a lot. It is a whole heck of a lot. We have a cucumber, sweet peppers, a banana, some tomatoes, tomato pieces, and a canary melon, the rinds of a canary melon. Now, put a little bit more of that. It's pretty big feeding. And then we'll have the stuff that's at the bottom of this. I really don't want stuff to splash. Now, as I'm doing this, okay, there's the kale leaves. I'm debating about allowing all this water to come in here. Why? Because then there's hair. Did I already say that? The debate is over. I debated because it's a lot of water, but I decided to go with it because there's a lot of dry material at the bottom of the bin. The rotting garlic is dry, and that is, you know, going to absorb moisture, but the dry lemongrass is not necessarily absorptive, if you know what I mean. Let's go ahead. A little bit of the blueberries and the toilet paper rolls made their way over there. I'm going to add the rest of the dry mix to this side. Okay. Mix it in a little bit. Kind of compact this down. Tuck that kale leaf. All right, so you see that this side is nearly full. Now, how to do this? I think I'm going to take this down and then put the blue worm bin up here for you to see. Or rather, let me see if I can move some things around. Man, that stuff stinks. Totally forgot about that. That'll go to someone else. Okay. So I just want to have a look at these guys before we'll keep these blankets with this bin. Man, that stuff stinks. God. This is super heavy. This, by the way, I swear it's got to be 30 pounds. Not super heavy, but you know what I mean. It's pretty heavy. That's not super heavy. This stuff's like cake down there. All right. This stuff looks like cake batter, speaking of caked. We see worms. It's been a long time since I've been in here. I know I'll have it on the screen at the start of this, but even without remembering off the top of my head, I would say it's probably been at least, I know it's been at least a month. Interesting that there's still the skin, although the skin does tend to... Was I happy with the... I feel like I was happy with the consistency of the material in here before. I don't know though, because it... Like I was afraid of the feeding I was about to give ruining that. Now we see worms throughout, although This is not a blue worm. I'll leave him in there for now because I'm not near the other bins, but I wonder how. That's not a blue worm either. How other composting worms got in here. Well, you actually probably can't see because these worms are not, they don't stand out. Here's a nice pretty adult. They don't stand out as much, and I've got you on the tripod, so excuse me, so I'm not, usually I can move in when I'm holding the phone with my left hand. Yeah, this stuff is really muddy. Yeah, there's a lot of worms. I have to go back and scan through the other video because I feel like the population definitely hasn't grown much since last time, and I'm debating if it's declined at all. And I mean, really can't be surprised because this is not ideal material. It's 90% castings at this point, and it's wet, which encourages breeding, but would they really be encouraged to breed when there's not a whole lot of material for feeding? So this is where I fed last time. All right, well, this is encouraging to see. I know this is where I fed because of the shredded paper. But also, look at all the worms. As we would expect to find them. But I'm just like, oh wow. Like there really are a lot of worms over here. So, super encouraging to see.